Hello everyone, it's Philip here. This is a special edition of the vlog. Obviously I'm not either in my cafe at home or the cafe at work, or even outside or in my office. We're in the hospital at the moment with my daughter and just going through some kind of health issues, sort of long-standing stuff, and so we're in the right place. But I thought, even though there hasn't really been a lot of time to think about what I would say in relation to kind of Revelation and kind of where we're at, which is the last sequence of 7 plagues from the bowls. Haven't really done much thinking about that. I've looked at it, but didn't have the time, given what's going on, to do any real kind of reflection on it. So I'll just do a special edition, kind of special hospital edition vlog, and maybe there'll be a couple of these. We'll see how we go. But also am actually, of course, thinking still and always about the Revelation stuff and what that's kind of trying to teach us, and putting it into some context with my own life and the journey that I'm going through, and my journey is my family's journey, and it's my friend's journey, all that kind of stuff. So all this stuff always weaves in together. And I guess what I was thinking about this morning is I thought, well, am I going to get a vlog done at all? And I thought, well, why not just do one where you are? And got my daughter doing the camera work. She's hair and makeup and camera today, which is cool. It's good to do that with my daughter. And thinking about what I would say if I had anything to say, and it's probably, in a way, perhaps a bit of a contrast to what Revelation's mainly about. And mainly it's about helping people who believe in God and live in a world that's hostile to that belief, helping them to do that well. How would you hold on to God when there's so much in the world that would test that belief and help, would at least try and push you into not believing, or and if probably even pushing you into believing something else and another way of living entirely. So in a hostile world where belief in God becomes really hard, a book like Revelation's really good, because it creates a very strong contrast between what the beast might want you to do and what God might want you to do, and what the outcomes might be. And of course, the outcome of the book of Revelation is belief in God wins, yay! Which of course that's why we're listening, and that's why we're here. We believe that. But there's so much that doesn't fit so neatly into that category of, if you believe the beast, then that's going to end really badly for you, and if you believe in God, then there might be some momentary and difficult trials because of that, but it'll end well. There's a lot of stuff that doesn't kind of fit so easily into either of those two categories, and it's kind of what I would class the Mum, why do I have an allergy kind of class. It's not a matter of your belief. It's not because you believe God that you've got an allergy, because Satan hates you and is trying to make you move away from God by giving you an allergy. That's not the point. That's not what's going on. Nor is it, I don't believe in God and that's why I've got an allergy. That's not it either, because believers have allergies and non-believers have allergies. It's kind of like a human thing. Because you're human, you might have an allergy. Because you're human, you might suffer a sickness. Because you're human, you're going to die, and it's neither God's fault nor the enemy's fault. It's just kind of way things are. But that doesn't mean there's not a theological understanding here, or at least that doesn't mean we can't think about that in theological terms. It's just that in some ways Revelation's not always that useful for that more nuanced discussion. So I thought maybe today I could do that. Why do people have allergies? Why do people I know and love suffer conditions that are not their fault? A family of friends of ours with a wee lad who's got really severe allergies. Not their fault, not his fault, but they have to deal with it. It's not Satan who's after them. It's not God who's afflicting them with a suffering and a plague. A friend of ours broke her back very young, and just going about life and enjoying life, and it happened. It's an accident, and it happened. It's not God's fault because she was worshipping the beast, and it's not Satan's fault because she loved God. It's not that. It's just in this life stuff happens. In fact, I was kind of talking about this a little bit, just briefly, with a chap at church on Sunday, and there's a text in Scripture that says, Christ was crucified at the founding of the world, and my take on that is there's a historical moment when Jesus Christ was, obviously literally crucified. It really did happen. It's an historic event. It's not just the Bible that tells about it. There's all sorts of other historical evidence to it. It's one of the most well-documented stories. But there's also this idea that I guess the way I take it in that text, it's saying that the way that God created the world and the kind of world, that the kind of God we believe in would create, one in which people and things have a chance to realize their own potential without everything being predetermined. I mean, if I created a computer, then my job as a computer programmer and creator is to predetermine what that computer will do and make sure it doesn't go outside of its parameters, because a computer that decides to do whatever it wants to do is no longer very useful to me. A computer that I really want and would buy is one that will do exactly what I need it to do and no more, because that's the way we create things. We create things to be consistent and to be efficient and to keep reproducing things that we want them to do. And when they don't, we call them, bugged. They have viruses. They've been broken down or they've been hacked. Whatever. We have terms for these, and it means the computer's useless now, or I need to reboot or get new software. I need to fix it, or just get rid of the thing, because something's gone horribly wrong and I need to get rid of it. But the way that God does things, it's different, and I think there's a real mystery here that I just want to tease out a little, and it's the mystery of, because of the way that God creates, because of the way God is as a community of being, one God, three beings, three persons, Father, Son, and Holy Spirit. There is within that being a give and take nature, that the Father glorifies the Son, and the Son glorifies the Father, and the Spirit between them is the way that it kind of operates. It's a horrible way of saying it, but it's a way of getting at it, I suppose. So everything is about community and connection, and about giving oneself to another, and instead of trying to get things for yourself. And the only way that can work is if there's a freedom to do that. If you're forced to give yourself to someone else, then that's tyranny. That's a bullying nature. But there's nothing in God that's bullying. There's nothing in God that is forced out of God. God gives himself to himself. The Father gives to the Son gives to the Father, and the Spirit is the activity between them. And that's completely free will, and it's a beautiful thing. It's what God is. And of course, God then creates out of himself and from himself and his own character a world in which things are going to be able to give of themselves, and they're not going to be forced to give. Because if God forces us to give love to him, it's no longer love. And it's a real problem for God. And it's a problem for us too, because there's only one God, and so there's only one being in this world that is completely sufficient in himself. There's only one God that can't be less than himself. There's only one being that can never get it wrong, which means that everything that God creates is going to be, in essence, less than him, and always then have the potential to be less than it should be itself. Everything God creates is never God. Therefore, everything he creates has the potential to fall or fail or to break or to not go according to plan. And God created a creation which has an ability to accept him or reject him, to accept love or to reject love, to accept goodness or reject goodness. It has that is the way that God would create, as one who loves and gives freely. And because of that potential, and because we're not God and prone to fail, therefore it was going to fail. We were going to reject God. We were going to find ourselves in war with one another. It was almost because it had the potential in it, and because we're not God and able to be perfect, that was going to happen. The world was going to begin to break apart and fray at the seams and have things that we talk about like allergies and cancers and all sorts of other things, even war and you name it. Those things were going to happen. As soon as God made the world, Christ was crucified at the founding of that moment. Why? Because God recognizes what he did. God knows what he has done. He has made a world that he freely accepts and admits cannot live up to a perfect standard, cannot be God itself, will inevitably fail or fall. And he takes full responsibility for that. That's why Christ was crucified at the founding of the world, because at least one thread you could weave into the tapestry of asking the question, why did Christ have to die? One of the answers is because he takes full responsibility for all that's gone wrong in the world, for all the breakdown, for the fact that the system has frayed and is breaking and isn't perfect and has these issues in it. That is at least one way that we can understand the crucifixion, as God taking full responsibility in himself for what has happened, taking full responsibility for the sorrow of it, but also for the fixing of it. Because through Christ, through a human who is God made flesh, we now are given a new way through this whole process and what we call the resurrection. So we're all going to die. That's inevitable. We're all going to suffer. We're all going to face trial. That's written in. That's the way it is. But that's not the end of the story, and that's the great news. That's the news of the cross. That's the news of Revelation. That's the news for, Mum, why do I have an allergy? Well, because the system's a bit broken. But don't worry, God has a fix. He has a reboot, a remake. And the resurrection is a time when, in the future, when none of us will have to face any of these trials and tribulations, when none of us will have allergies and cancer and war to worry about and starvation and anything that we worry about. The mortality issue will be gone. I don't know how God's going to do that. Fortunately, I'm not God. I don't have to worry about it. I just believe in it, and I know it to be true. And that's my take on, why was Jesus crucified at the founding of the world? Why is it that we have allergies and cancer? Because of the way that God is, the fact that we're not God and things were going to fall. It's a mystery because I don't think God created us to fall. That wasn't the point, and I'm not trying to make that point. But it was inevitable. It was, I think, anyway, that's my take on it. Love to hear your thoughts and comments. Maybe you've had questions like this as well, and you've come up with other ideas or other ways to think about it, and other verses that you throw out there, or just even other ways of thinking about God and creation. It's all about a conversation anyway. I don't have answers, I just have reflections. So that's me in this special hospital edition. As I said, there may be another one. Thank you, Gabriel, for holding the phone as steady as you have done. So we'll see you again soon. God bless.